I think a lot of filmmakers struggle with the screenwriting process because it's a process that can't easily be visualized. Writing at the end of the day is just words on a page, and so I think a lot of filmmakers, because we're visual learners and storytellers, it's hard to understand or learn the screenwriting process because it's not as visual as the rest of filmmaking. With cinematography, you have pictures to look at. With sound recording, there's a clear visual image we have of a boom mic operator and sound editing. But with writing, we're just looking at someone typing on a computer or writing in a notebook. A visual image that really helped me is to think about writing as another art form. To me, writing is like sculpting. Your idea is like a brick of clay, and your job as a screenwriter is to turn that clay into a statue. Over the last few years, I've developed a couple different stages of writing, which helps me think about how to approach screenwriting as a whole. This isn't how everyone does it, and it's not how everyone necessarily should do it, but I've broken down these 4 stages of screenwriting to help me write more scripts.
The first step in your writing process is what we call the beat sheet. Now, the beat sheet kind of goes over your whole story in a series of short sentences, basically laying out the general story structure, whether you have 3 acts or 4 acts or whatever it may be. This primarily applies to narrative films, and the way we have it laid out is for the 3-act structure. Your beat sheet could look something like this. Act 1, setup. This is the character's status quo. Turning point 1, something happens, usually the inciting incident. New situation. This is the new status quo. Turning point 2, something bigger has happened. Act 2, progress. Your protagonist is beginning to work towards a goal. Turning point 3, another big change happens and the stakes are raised. Complications and higher stakes. Your protagonist continues towards their goal. Turning point 4, a huge event changes things once again. Act 3, the final push. Your protagonist reflects and prepares for the final part of their journey. Turning point 5, the climax. Aftermath, the new status quo. Everything is resolved.
Once you finish your beat sheet, then you can move on to the second stage of the writing process. This is where you're writing a thing called an outline. And this sounds a lot like a beat sheet, but what you're doing is taking this 9-sentence structure and you're going to expand it out into something that could be several pages long. You're not just worrying now about what happens, but how things happen. So you start adding connective tissue to your story to make things flow naturally together and create a more full story. So you're not just thinking about a character finding a clue somewhere, but you're thinking about a character finding a clue in a secret compartment in their house, or discovering that their best friend is now the person they've been looking for this whole time that's secretly a murderer. You're finding all of these details and things that wouldn't be as fleshed out in your beat sheet, and now you get to add all these things together to make a well-rounded story.
The next stage is your scriptment. A scriptment is written exactly like a screenplay. It's got action lines, it's got slug lines, it says interior, exterior, day and night, and all that good stuff. However, all of the dialogue is summarized. I don't take the time to write dialogue here. What I do instead is I like to summarize the dialogue in a different color text, usually blue or red. What this does is this separates the process of writing the action and the dialogue. It's more helpful for me to think about the dialogue separately. So after your scriptment is done, you can move on to the final stage in this process, which is the script. And most of your script is already written, so all you have to do is fill in the dialogue.
These are the steps that we use to write our scripts. Now, it doesn't matter if this is how you write a script or not, because the most important thing that you can do is to just practice. Write every day. It doesn't matter the format, the outline, the beat sheet, the script, it doesn't matter. All you need to do is write, because every time you write, you improve, you find what works best for you, and it just gets easier every time, and your work is going to improve.
And a good example of not necessarily following this format is our movie Wild Boys. There was no script for Wild Boys. It was improvised, and all we had was the beat sheet and the script, and everything else was figured out on set the day of.
We have a lot more videos on this channel where we talk about screenwriting, so if you're interested in checking those out, check out the playlist above. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.